Over time, every object on Earth succumbs to nature, and that of course includes man-made structures. While some objects vanish more quickly than others, iron and silver, among other metals, take a little longer to break down. With this process, one in which time and nature turn a fast-moving airplane and reduce it to a heap of rusted decay. Follow along with us as we dive into some of the world's abandoned vehicle hotspots. And be sure to stay right to the end to witness the great effect that nature has on our number one. And before we get started, be sure to subscribe and like this video for 36 years of good luck. Chatillon, Belgium. Starting off with number 10, we are located in a forest near a small town named Chatillon. There lies a graveyard of abandoned 1950s and 1960s automobiles. The backstory of how these vehicles came to be is quite incredible though. After the formation of NATO in 1949, Canada implemented its plan to construct Air Force bases in Europe, resulting in an influx of Canadian natives moving to France and Belgium. One base was built in Marville, a small city in the French countryside, but because of the area was somewhat undeveloped, many Canadians chose to live in Virton, a nearby, more industrialized city in Belgium. Virton was close to a mechanic shop in Chatillon, which began specializing in cars from the US that had been brought over by the military men, thus collected a graveyard of defunct American cars that sat for decades. Dubai. It seems to be a rather well-known fact that the streets of Dubai are littered with supercars that were abandoned by their once wealthy owners. According to sources, there are over 2,000 cars abandoned in Dubai each year. Many of them are just like cars shown in this video. You may ask yourself, why are all these expensive supercars left to decay by their owners? The answer is most likely falling oil prices, which bankrupt the wealthy businessman moguls of Dubai, who have taken out humongous loans to buy these expensive items. Shenzhen, China. Here lie literal piles of abandoned vehicles, mostly mopeds and motorcycles. They were once used on the dense urban roadways of Shenzhen, home to a staggering 12.53 million residents. Essentially, the bikes have been abandoned by their owners after a new nationwide emissions law outright banned many of these vehicles to be used by their owners. The ban was implemented to combat the number of illegally operated and unregistered vehicles in the city. In March of 2015, an estimated 100,000 vehicles were taken off the road, and according to other sources, there will be around 16 million vehicles ready to be scrapped by the end of 2020. I think we should just add another year because of the coronavirus. So we'll say 2021. Haiyang, Sichuan, China. Staying in China, this village in the province of Sichuan has a similar problem as the rest of China as a whole: abandoned cars. The car in these pictures, which I thought was a bush upon first glance, provides a quick peek into the reality that China faces a serious problem with their cars being left behind by their owners to sit and decay. The car looks quite beautiful being fully engulfed with vines, but of course, this also begs the question, why was the car allowed to sit in a public place long enough to become overgrown in a rather urban part of the city? Police have since towed the vehicle away, probably because of all the unpaid parking tickets. Chernobyl, Ukraine. In 1986, near the city of Pripyat in northern Ukraine, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant had a catastrophic meltdown, resulting in the abandonment of the city. The exclusion zone measured a whopping 30 kilometers in every direction from the plant, leaving buildings, homes, and cars to sit and decay. Many of the abandoned vehicles are trucks, military vehicles, and even helicopters. Now riddled with poisonous radiation, some vehicles have been extracted from inside the radiation zone. However, the cleanup over Chernobyl disaster is slow, and the vehicles will sit in the decay ruins for the foreseeable future. This just shows the massive impact that a meltdown had on Chernobyl. The next stop is Karachi, Pakistan. Pakistan imports an estimated 60,000 cars a year. Many of these cars are received into the ports of Karachi. However, many of these cars never actually leave the storage lots. About $750 million a year is spent on importing cars into Pakistan, which is no small amount of money. boy, do I wish I had that kind of money. I could just pay for a car and completely forget to pick it up. Johannesburg, South Africa. Pouncing over to South Africa, get it? Like a lion? King of the jungle? Okay, I'll stop. Anyways, Johannesburg is the largest city in South Africa, and much like other urban powerhouses, it faces the same issues of vehicle abandonment as other heavy populated areas. Parking garages all over Johannesburg are often filled to the brim with abandoned cars, from either people heading to the airport and booking a one-way ticket, or they're stolen. Fukushima, Japan. Hitting on another forced evacuation, the Fukushima nuclear disaster, caused by an earthquake and tsunami that devastated Japan in April of 2011, resulted in a 20-kilometer exclusion zone that displaced about 156,000 people. High levels of radiation make the area uninhabitable, leaving a once densely populated area now abandoned, leaving behind all these residents' belongings, including tons of cars, many of which are the subcompact urban vehicles that are so common around Japan. New York City, New York, USA, the Big Apple, has historically had a serious problem with abandoned vehicles, and while the issue has gotten better in more recent years, it has plagued the city since the mid-20th century. In 1988, the New York Department of Sanitation removed almost 150,000 abandoned vehicles from the streets. But in 2013, that number was just under 3,000. So how were they so successful with dropping that number? Well, changes in law were made, which were the biggest contributor, which now allows the auctioning of vacant cars if the owner does not come forward within 90 days after the vehicle is impounded. It's really not a bad system if you ask me. The person who abandoned the car gets rid of an unwanted vehicle, and another interested driver is allowed to purchase the car at a ridiculously low price. That's a win-win. SS Airfield. Now at number 1, we have the SS Airfield. This vessel is one of many decommissioned ships in the Homebush Bay just west of Sydney. But what separates it from the other stranded hunks of steel is the incredible foliage that adorns to the rusted hull. The beautiful spectacle, also referred to as the floating forest, adds a bit of life to the area, which happens to be sort of a ship graveyard. Originally launched as the SS Cornwall, the massive 1,140-ton steel beast was built in 1911 in UK and registered in Sydney in 1912. Used to transport supplies to American troops stationed in the Pacific region during World War II, eventually, in 1972, the SS Airfield was retired and sent to Homebush Bay, which served as a ship breaking yard. While many ships were taken apart, about 4 metallic bodies of vessels that are over 75 years old currently float in the bay. This ship continues to attract visitors to its majestic present, rich with mangrove trees. Thank you everybody for tuning in. It's sad to see so many vehicles abandoned, but be sure to send good vibes and please subscribe. And remember to leave a comment letting us know what you want to see next. Take care everybody.